while it is still fresh in your mind, you ask the question and we can discuss that. So you will get the most out of this session only by sort of detailed, making the whole thing interactive. So you guys introduce yourselves individually, but just to get a flavor, how many of you have already raised funds? Two of you. Okay. You have raised funds already.
From
Your Solinas, is it?
yeah,
Very
from government corporation. Like I
from the incubation cell.
no sir. From government oil and natural gas.
So you got a grant from somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many of you already have a minimum viable product? Okay. How many of you have done pilots for customers? Okay. How many of you have sales? Don't assume that I know the answer. Please, I mean, if you're raising, okay. How many of you do repeat sales for the same customer? Okay. And how many of you are in product business? And how many in service? Okay. Anybody product and service? Okay. So during this discussion, and I will call it a discussion and not a talk, there will be some provocative statements made by me. Please take this in the spirit it is said, and if you disagree with what I am saying, please stop me and let us have a discussion. That is the best way of both you learning as well as me learning. And just because I have no hair and I look old doesn't mean that I know everything. I mean, I frankly, the amount I have learned in the last 3-4 years beats what I learned earlier when I was working. So fundamentally, let us make this thing interactive so both of us will learn from each other as we go along. So the talk today is basically the kickoff session for a series of talks which will come during the year on the 4th Thursday of every month. We did this last year. Did any of you attend any session last year? Okay. Okay. My request is when you raise your hand, do it for the entire audience and not for me, please. So, because that way then the people will also get a feel for what kind of an audience is there out here. Okay, so this is a series of sessions. So the topic is, what do investors look for in a startup? I gave a similar talk, virtually the same deck, to Nirman people last year. And how many of you are aware what is the Nirman program? So the Nirman program basically is a program for IIT Madras students in their undergraduate days, which encourages entrepreneurship. So each team gets 2 lakhs and said that work on an idea and do something. And there are many Nirman teams which have come on to sort of pre-incubation, incubation and so on. Like Planis is one of those teams which came through C5 and so on, and there are other teams like that also. So it is a good pipeline for incubation. So in the Nirman program, let's say 100 people sign up for the Nirman program, not all 100 are going to become entrepreneurs. People after 1 year or 2 years decide that this is not for me, I'll go for a corporate job. In a corporate job also this is relevant. All that we will talk today is relevant. Because at the end of the day, the only difference is that you are pitching for capital allocation between other divisions which are pitching for the same money. If the group chairman or the managing director has, let's say, 100 crores of capital budget this year, there are 25 people vying for that 100 crores. You have to sell to get that and say that I will give you return, I will give you this. I will give you this to get the money. In this, fundamentally, you are funding, pitching to investors to raise the fund, and how will you be ready for that? So the first thing which a potential investor looks at is founder. And the joke is that it is founders and founder, even if it is a single founder, it is so important that you keep repeating it is founder and founder and founder and founder. And what do we mean by that? It means that if a founder typically has no energy, has no understanding of what he is talking about, has half-baked knowledge of what he is talking about, is a person who has very rigid ideas in life, is a person who sort of refuses to learn anything new. I mean, these are all no-nos for a founder is basically somebody very high energy. So the founder basically must exhibit a lot of energy, must exhibit depth of understanding on the subject, must be aware of what is going on in that space everywhere. It's just not saying that I don't know what is happening in this space in the US, or I don't know what is happening here, and what are the alternative methods of solving the same problem, so on. So you really must be a very immersed person in the subject, must have a very, very good knowledge. So, okay, while we wait for them, anybody disagrees or anybody has a different opinion on what I'm saying, or a different perspective on what I'm saying? The second most important thing is, what is the problem you are solving? Is it an imaginary problem, which a lot of these Bangalore startups do, creating apps? Or is it a genuine problem which is there, which in terms of a genuine problem which a set of customers have? Or the way you are solving it is different to the way it is being solved right now? There has to be some difference. Either this problem was an unsolved problem, or if it was a problem which was being solved, is being solved in a different way, is being solved in a far more efficient way, is being solved in a way where you can, is very process oriented, so that the repeatability is very high, chances of errors are much less. So it is important that you have total understanding on what is the problem which is being solved, and the problem is a genuine problem. It is, as I said, not an imaginary problem, or not a niche problem which some super rich guys have in terms of a very, very small segment, and so on. And I'll come to that a little bit later. So the problem part is a very, very important part of the whole thing. So let us discuss this for some time, and as to see what your understanding of the whole thing is. So what do you think would be a problem, and in your company, what are you trying to solve?
We are working on the plastic waste management.
So what is the problem you are solving?
We are working, we are developing a machine which could convert the plastic waste into fuel oil. Though there is a plastic ban, the ban is actually imposed on the single-use plastic. The consumer-based products are not yet banned, right? So we cannot do it also. So those plastics will be always generated, and those plastics cannot be recycled, and the collection, transportations, all are the problems.
So what kind of plastics will you recycle and convert into oil?
Except PVC and PET, all other kinds of
Except PVC and
PET, polyvinyl chloride and polyethylene tetra.
PET.
Yeah, PET.
You can do all.
Yeah, polypropylene,
So you should disclaimer or warning. I spent 20 years of my life in plastics. So okay. So you say that you can do LDP, HDP, and so on.
Yes.
Which is the biggest polymer in the world? Most consumed polymer in the world?
Packaging industries.
You're talking of end use. I'm talking of the polymer, which is the. See, this is the kind of understanding which will be this thing.
Okay.
The second biggest is PVC.
Okay.
The first is PE. So you already have ruled out one big chunk.
Okay.
And I'm happy you said that because PVC is today the most recycled plastic.
Okay.
There are already multiple uses for that. What are the alternative ways that you can recycle plastic?
So now what people are doing is plastic extrusion machine, right? Extruders. So they are melting and converting it to an other level of plastics.
Recycle.
Recycling. But we cannot recycle for multiple levels. When each time we recycle, we add different again binders, colorants, and other material. So
Okay.
over a period of time, it cannot be recycled. So we
Okay.
have to anyway.
Is there
put-
any other method where you can use the waste plastic?
The,
Right now, this one they lay roads with.
Yeah.
Laying roads.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you're aware of that.
yes.
Like this, is there any other method?
People do the gasification and combustion, those, and they take it to the cement kilns. Cement kilns, that is also available process.
Okay. So the method you follow for converting to oil is what? Pyrolysis, is
Yes.
it?
Yes.
So in pyrolysis, have you considered what are the toxic things which come out?
Yeah. The dioxin furans has not
Exactly.
been studied yet, but we are in the process of doing it.
Okay. So I'm actually very happy. You know, they were able to answer most of the questions. But to say that I have not studied it yet, you can't go in front of an investor say that I'm. But at least you're thinking on those lines. So when you are ready to go in front of a customer, so do you get a feel for what is the depth which will be asked for? And obviously I have not asked everything. So one question which will be, what are the issues in collecting waste plastic? What is the size of the virgin market? What is the size of the quantity available for recycling? Why would somebody give it to you rather than recycling it in roads or extruding it again on so the competitive advantages and disadvantages for the multiple use, because your raw material is waste plastic. So it will go to the person who pays the most. So is oil the best?
Yeah. Yeah. Some kind.
No, it's not your feeling. You need calculations. That for every kg of this, I get so much of oil.
So the basic thing is that we are talking about waste plastics, rather the recyclable ones. They have to be in the recyclable market. We cannot compete with the recyclable market because the amount that they pay to the recyclers is far more for 1 kg PP or 1 kg PE. The amount they pay to the recyclers is far more. But what we are exactly targeting are those laminated plastics, where it actually poses
So
a
what is
problem.
the size of that market?
Uh,
And stay with that, and I will come to you later on and ask you more questions when we discuss scalability. Okay? So do you want to be a niche player? I'm just put the thought in your mind. Do you want to be a niche player and service the waste recycling in Chennai? Do you want to be a Tamil Nadu player? Do you want to be a South Zone player? Do you want to be an India player? Do you want to be a global player? So we will talk of scalability. So when we talk of scalability, what you have in mind, will that work? And there are certain investors who will only come to invest in projects which are scalable. And there is one company in the IIT Madras incubation cell which was raising money, and the investor asked, what is the size of the market? So these guys said $6-7 billion. So that guy said, show me. So they gave detailed analysis of that the global market is $7 billion. And it was right. He didn't contest the numbers, he accepted the numbers, everything. And you know what the answer was? This market size is not big enough for me. Now, I will drool at $7 billion market size. Sense that to me this is fantastic. It is huge because you get 1% share of that. I mean, you know what is the size of 1% of 1 billion. We are talking $70 million. That guy, and these guys had a product good enough to get multiple percentage shares. So ultimately it will depend on so the scalability becomes a factor, but we will come to that a little bit later. So the problem which you are solving needs to be looked at from multiple angles. It is not from a single angle that it is a good problem. Theoretically, converting waste plastic to oil is a good problem. You are converting waste and getting oil out of that. Something which would have gone into a landfill you are using. But it has to be seen from multiple angles. It has to be seen from what is your depth of understanding. It has to be seen from, is it sustainable? Is it scalable? Does it create problems of its own? Like she said that the dioxins, how many of you are aware what dioxins are? Dioxins is a 5-letter bad word globally. Okay, in the sense that it affects all sorts of things. So in a chemical plant, what you have to ensure is that you sort of don't have any dioxins coming out of the plant. Okay, but since we talk of dioxins, trivia questions. What is the largest source of dioxins in the world? Are you aware? Wood burning. When you burn wood, phenomenal amount of dioxins are released, and that is the largest source of dioxins. So what is unique about your product or service? Do you have any IP for that? Is it a design? You have any design? Is it a cost? And if it is a cost arbitrage because your labor is cheap, then it is not cost. Because if today you can do it, tomorrow Bangladesh can do it, day after tomorrow Vietnam can do it. Okay, or today Chennai wages are higher than Orissa, which are higher than Bihar. So cost arbitrage is not a benefit. Cost is that you are doing something revolutionarily different, that you get a totally new cost base altogether. Do you get my point? There's a big difference between cost arbitrage and genuine cost reduction. Yes, please.
Should there be a delivery model in between?
Yeah. This is just examples. Yeah, so we can. So good that you raised it. Let's discuss it. Like say Swiggy. Swiggy is a good case of a delivery model. And they did something which is very, very unique to start with. Now anybody and everybody can copy Swiggy, but they have first mover advantage. And they have a strong back end which will ensure that. So we will come to competition also later on, and we will discuss that. Okay. So what is unique about the product or service? Any thoughts on this?
I had most of the investors, they look at some uniqueness, and what I found out is like they think like Facebook is a unique offering. At last I derived and showed them something like neither Facebook was unique, only the delivery model was unique. Like output was there before, or forums was there before, and this one is subtle variance that made this a vibrant. Same way with Microsoft, Xerox, or Macintosh. They copied each other, and most of the time. But the delivery model of Microsoft or the delivery model of Apple, which packaged the software inside a hardware, they thought that's going to succeed. So this only the delivery model was in my first.
It is a difference, but it can't be the only this
Yeah,
thing.
it's packaging as a whole along with the product.
And
The product is
with lot of other what you call differentiators. That cannot be the only differentiator.
a shape, little bit, it adds
Mm.
value.
Yeah, it adds value. So who would like to volunteer a discussion on uniqueness of a product? Anyone volunteers, or do you want me to pick? Okay. I don't know whether you're the right example here, because you have such a unique product that it will go over the head of most people out here. But let's discuss it.
So if some apparel vendor wants to go online, onto say a Flipkart or something, they need to do regular photo shoots, like get a model, draping artist, and all of these people, makeup artist. So our technology is unique because we just upload flat pictures of the garment and then you'd be able to see it on the model directly. So in that way, our uniqueness would be the technology or IP basically.
Okay. Is there anything else? Is your design unique?
I don't understand exactly what design is here.
Okay.
Can we take on design?
Sorry?
Design. Can we take on design?
Yeah.
Our problem statement was basically to address the car parking space constraint in the urban areas, particularly the old cities, uh, this metro cities, then the parking commercial complexes, then hospitals. So what we found was there were some products available in the market, but they were actually occupying too much of space, and there was no flexibility in terms of usage of the available space once the car parking systems are installed. So they were basically with kind of case type systems where there were four pillars, and a car will go in and then it will be lifted. Then the second car will go below that. Then the second design which came across was the two pillar one, which is basically used in all the car workshops, where you have two pillars and then you have supports which lifts it. We have actually slightly gone ahead and we have designed a system which is basically a single pillar system. It's more like a cantilever system, which is designed in such a way that once the entire system is lifted, the entire floor level which is there is available for any other use. For example, if a car is not parked, you just lift the entire system up and the entire place is available for you to use the entire place. So that is what we are trying to. Yeah. Of course, along with that, some more engineering has been done. That the other systems were basically run by chain driven by motors. We have used a pneumatic system, which is a very simple system for a person to operate also.
So when we talk of IP or when we talk of design benefit, so let's say today you have developed something and you are maybe the only player, or you are a player with solving this problem in compared to your competition in a very unique way, because most problems were getting solved. It's not that everybody was just waiting for you to come and develop a solution. It was getting solved. It was getting solved at a particular cost, or it was being solved without efficiency or with some errors in it, or the speed of delivery was low, cycle times were large. So you did certain things by your IP, your innovation, your problem statement, that you reduced it from, you improved efficiency, you reduced cost, you did many things. So there are two ways of looking at this. One is that I will be the only guy who will do this for the rest of eternity, or you assume that competition will catch up. And the competition may not be somebody who's there today. It can be somebody new. He thinks that the market is huge. He has deep pockets. Is willing to burn money to develop this fast. So where would you be? And how would you, if a question like this was asked by an investor, and it's not important for the investor to ask, you should ask this of yourself. Investor will definitely ask you, what would your answer be?
We have patented this design also, number one.
Patents don't work.
Don't work. But yes, there is a risk of people copying the design and somebody who,
There are enough ways of copying the design
yes,
without legally breaking the patent. And you have China, which in any case doesn't bother about anything.
that's right.
So, I mean, there is no such thing as patent law in China. So, in India, depending on the company, so there are professional companies which will honor patents. There are companies which will not honor patents. But whatever it is, even professional companies will find a workaround in keeping with all patent laws and will develop it. Because when you go, how many of you have filed for patents? Okay. So when you file for a patent, you do realize that you are giving away a lot of information. That information itself is enough for a guy to, think about how to beat it. And you must also be aware that, I mean, when I started my career 40 odd years back, even then reverse engineering existed. Reverse engineering is a fine art now, thanks to all the, tools available. I mean, you can do 3D modeling, for God's sake, like this. In our time, guys used to measure, guys used to create drawings, guys used to do this. Even now they are doing the same thing, except that they do it through 3D modeling. So the time taken to do for reverse engineering has been crashed thanks to somebody, a startup like you, developing technology for doing reverse engineering. So what is your answer for that then?
So probably yes, what we feel is that going forward the markets across the world will be big enough to absorb good
If
number
he
of-
can beat you here, he'll beat you elsewhere also. And remember that I'm talking about a guy with deep pockets. I'm not talking about somebody who's struggling for money, somebody who already has money. Let's assume Reliance decides to get into the product you are handling. He doesn't have a problem here. You know what he has done to Jio, no? Jio, there were some advantages, people can claim there were disadvantages, but whatever it is sheer brute money power which has made him what he is today. So let's, if you think that Reliance is going to be your competitor, what is your answer? So that is one answer. Then you don't need an investor. And that can be an exit formula also, licensing it out. So that's or it can be a business model also. So we are not discussing business models right now. We are discussing what will you do for when to maintain the edge. Would anybody else want try to answer? Yes and no. Yes and no. So let's take Jio since we started that example. For an individual, there is no network effect. For corporates, there is a network effect. If a large company has 5,000 mobile subscriptions of Airtel and they need to switch to Jio, it is a pain. It is a huge, huge pain. But still people have done it, no? At the end of the day, everything is cost benefit. Everything is what am I getting out of this? Am I getting better what do you call features? Am I getting better delivery? Am I getting better sustainability? Chances of geo failing are very, very low. Chances of a startup failing are very high.
I need to be one step ahead with continuous evolving.
Exactly, that is the answer. You need to, the fact that you are ahead and you have developed something new is only the beginning of your journey. It is not the end point. And this is crucial for your own survival, and the way you answer this to an investor is also crucial on how you will get funded. Because everybody will assume that competition will come in. Everybody will give you examples of a potential competitor with deep pockets. What will you do? So the answer is that I continue by innovation. The answer is to say that, in my opinion, it will take 9 months, 1 year of hard work for somebody, if he throws a lot of money, to catch up with me. So I have 1 year's time to develop something and be continuously ahead of the game. So as long as you are able to convince a potential investor on that, you are okay.
We are
So-
also finding newer applications for the same know-how.
Newer applications may not help you because that guy can find the applications. It is being continuously ahead of the game. It is not new. Newer applications is good. You must do that from your sales perspective, from diversifying your risk perspective of doing it for different segments, but not from a potential competitor with deep pockets. So we did a session on patents. How many of you attended that? Okay. So patent law is something which again you guys must understand, that people, as I said, China, they don't know how to spell patent. Though it has largest number of patents in the world today, or second largest comes out of China, but that is at the university level. At the operating level in plants, they don't know how to spell it. Or maybe there isn't a Chinese word for the English word patent, I don't know. The Europeans and the Americans, I won't call them saints. What I would say is that there is a very strong respect for patent law because the liabilities there are huge if you try funny stuff. So it's not that their ethics or this thing is better, or they could be better. I'm not passing any value judgments. But fundamentally it is
Fear of damage.
fear of damages, fear of liability. Whereas in India, when you have a strong liability law, which is slowly coming in, you will find respect for patents will improve. But we are digressing. We are talking about what is unique about the product, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that I need to be continuously ahead of the game. Is there anybody else who has a different perspective or wants to explore a different angle on this? Yes, please.
I just wanted to understand, is it really necessary for me to be busy? Assume, there is X company with a $20 billion size market. They have captured, let's say, $2 billion. 18 is yet to be explored. That same market, same product, nothing different. If I come in, he's 2 years ahead of me, I come in now. I still have a market to explore in that same space. Do I really have to be busy? Can I
You are talking of a fight between two large companies. You are not talking of a fight between a startup and a large company. The audience here is startups. Audience here is doing breakthroughs. That is a different discussion we can do offline if you want. that if there is a $20 billion pie and there are 3 large players, how will you fight that market? Okay, that is a different ball game, and those are relatively more stable products. We are not talking of new solutions, new this thing. As I told you, 20 years of my life I spent in plastics. The PVC which we used to make, we was made something like 75, 80 years back, or maybe even earlier. All that has happened is new grades came in. All that happened is efficiency is improved. All that happened is some waste, material wastages came down. But PVC remained PVC. New applications came in, which were extensions of existing applications. So to give you an example, 40% of the market for PVC in Europe and US is basically windows and doors. China has banned wooden doors and windows, wooden windows. You can only use PVC or you can use aluminum. 10 years of my life I tried getting that ban done in India also, didn't work. In spite of the fact that the number 1 player in India is Reliance. So in PVC, Reliance was number 1, we were number 2, and I shouldn't say this, we were some 40% of what they were, and number 3 was even smaller than us. So you are fighting it differently. So it is steady, large companies trying to fight with each other. This is, you say that I have a new solution. In this $20 billion and all is a different this thing. So that is why there is a very nice word called addressable market. So that example I gave you earlier, it is a $7 billion addressable market. The market doesn't exist today. You have to create that market with solutions.
Sorry to interrupt you. So for this engineering products,
Sorry?
for this engineering products, especially the copyable products, so I had a discussion with one of the companies who had introduced an innovative product, and still they are sustaining in the market. The company name is, they are based out of Coimbatore. The product is a super fan.
Sorry?
Super fan. So it's a ceiling fan. So it runs with 35 watts capacity, and its rating is, much lower. The power rating is much lower than the other fans, commercial fans available in the market. I had a meeting with the MD of that company. So how we can go ahead with this kind of threats, this copyable and all. So still we grow, still we have a substantial growth in our market. So no one is going to copy. So don't care about this copyable thing and all. So that's what he said. So still their product is surviving in the market for past 4 or 5 years, but no one has copied it.
Is he looking for external funding?
No.
That's the answer.
Okay.
You are talking of a particular tribe of people who will fund you. And this funding, we will come to the sources of funding later on. Typically will ask this question. Because you say that I am a startup. You're not saying that I am developing something. So let's talk of, at least this guy has very unique fan. You know these water pumps? There you go to Coimbatore, there are 25 people making it there. And all of them survive. But you will remember there are some 2 or 3 big names in this business. So there is a space for everybody. But are you in that kind of business? You are not. You say, I am doing something new. I have a patent, I have IP, I have this, I have that. I have improved. It's a different, we are talking different things, and none of those guys are looking for money from investors. They are looking for money from banks. Any other? And one thing also you must remember that there are always exceptions to the rule. So let's say if you were incidentally Reliance has a incubator. I don't know how many of you are aware. Okay, it has an incubator. a very successful incubator, but they bring in startups there to work towards problems which they are having. So let's say Geo, you know that now on a feature phone, you're able to get smartphone capability. Are you aware of that? 2000 rupee feature phone has limited smartphone capability. It got developed in that lab, in that incubator by a startup company. Obviously, I don't know whether Reliance bought them out, gave them a huge this thing, or it's still this thing, or it is licensed out. I don't know what they did. But the way that startup will think and work is very different to the way you will think and work. You're not part of a large corporate house. So there are different models in this. And there are always exceptions to this. We are talking of the way by which a startup in a neutral place like the incubation cell here, or in the research park here, or a startup independently doing it outside, goes through this thing that I have developed something new. I have done some deep technology, I have done this, I have done that. That is the route you're taking. Okay? Yes, please. I think take a mic, please.
So as you said that you should create a new market. So how can you create a new market for something which the world is not ready, as being too early is equivalent to being wrong? Okay. So how do you create a market for a very vast
I didn't say that. I said, what is the problem you're solving?
Yes, sir.
I never said create a new market.
For evolution of the company, creating a new market is also
Yeah, you can create new applications for but when you do a startup, when you thought of your startup, the question you must have said that this is the problem I'm solving. So the problem you're solving is for a particular market, isn't it? So if it is revolutionary and new, that problem, what you're indirectly saying is that that problem is not being felt by anybody now. Okay. So what you say is true. There are a lot of failures which we see when the standard classic line is they were ahead of their times. But there are also, what was the iPhone? 90% of the industry said iPhone will fail. Yes or no? They were ahead of their times. So, but iPhone is not a classic thing of what we are discussing here. Here we are discussing what is unique about your product, and the previous one discussion we had was what is the problem you are solving. So the problem is felt by a customer. You are not talking of being ahead of your time.
Addressing an existing problem. Addressing an existing problem.
Addressing a problem felt by the customer. You're solving it differently, or he doesn't have a solution today. The solution you're offering, as I said, could be that it is more consistent, it is more cost effective, it has brought down cycle times, it has brought in reliability, whatever it is. I mean, we can keep listing it. Is anybody here trying to do something which the customer doesn't have a problem?
It's the similar situation. We started off solving a problem in education, like we thought, like we want to give neat practice tests for all the school students. The moment we started, we completed to some extent and we rolled out. Yes, as you said, we found out like everybody was skeptical, like hey, Byju's is there, Fiji is there, the big guys are there, you are one among or one, not even near them. And I thought like, no, the world has ended. No, then I was going inside and I kept a tab and I was explaining to that person. Accidentally, he told me like, hey, this guy, he was explaining to the teachers, HODs there. He said, it looks like this guy has brought some tabs to present it to the students while he's doing the test there in the classroom. I didn't. I was just showing him the demo, but he created a market for me. That then I thought like, "Hey, why not give a tab in the classroom? That makes it the entire offering a unique rather. So I said, yes, we are providing tab for test. Then that either to it was criticized or it was nobody wanted us. Become like everybody liked that idea in all the schools. Of course, we are still piloting a small variance to the thing. Now we changed the course. Now we instead of saying we are NEET course, we said we are helping the teachers and we are here to kick the Baijus out. I said, what do you mean? Like they said, like yes, our teachers, our pillars. Why entertain other people inside the classroom? So we changed the rhetoric in such a way that the teachers felt good and the school felt good. We are here to support you. Kick the Baijus out.
Okay. This is not a topic for today's discussion, but it will come up in future sessions, or it will, you will get to know this from other people, is something called pivoting in startup parlance. How many of you have heard this term pivoting in? Okay, so the idea with which you started or the solution with which you came for a problem, you may find that after some time, you need to do it differently and you need to change some aspect of it, and that is pivoting. Or it can even be you change it completely, but it is some degree of pivoting, but we are not going to discuss that today because otherwise that's a whole new ball game which we are discussing. Okay, so the uniqueness part, does anybody want to discuss? We are okay? Okay. Is the business sustainable? So, the sustainability is what? That when a guy invests money in you, he expects some returns, he expects his money back, and hopefully expects more than what he put in. You want to do this business 10 years down the road. You're not doing this for the fun of it, for closing it down after 2 years. So sustainability means what? That you are going to make a profit out of this. So even if you are a social business, a social impact business, sustainability is crucial. Is any of you here a social impact business? Where you say that I'm an NGO, profits don't matter for me. Even NGOs need to make profits. The difference is that whatever are the margins they make goes back into whatever is their work. In the case of a for-profit company, it comes out as dividends, or it is reinvested in the business for adding capacity or whatever. But if an NGO was not sustainable, you will keep going back to donors saying, give me more money, give me more, and no donor wants to give you, keep giving you money. A donor would love to give you money if you say that I'm doing it for a new thing. I'm expanding geography. For that, give me money. But I'm doing some slum development work in Velachery, and every year I go back for the same Velachery. No donor wants to know you. So, sustainability, and since we are not, none of us here are NGO type, or none of us here are for social impact, we are all for-profit companies. Let's not have a discussion on that at all. So this is an aspect which we really need to be sure about, that our business is sustainable.